Oh, ready, Liza?
We're live.
Woo! We made it to a second
And
episode.
we are live. All right. So this has been utterly successful, the Comic Book Marauders. We actually made 2 shows so far without us getting canceled by YouTube. Pretty good. Hey, Steve. Hey, Stephanie. How are you guys doing?
Hey, Matt. We're doing great.
Already,
how are you?
The chat seems to be doing wonderful. The chat seems to be especially active tonight. Pretty Fly, first time seeing a show. You know, we've been holding a lot of them, so he's kind of late to the ball game. Who else is here? We have Trevor. It did work. All right. So we have a great show tonight. This is something I believe this was Stephanie's idea of talking about what movies or what comic book inspired movies inspired us. So right now we're going to be talking about what's going on. But Stephanie, how did you come up with this idea for a video?
You know something, Matt? I don't remember. But I do like movies, so there's that.
We watch a lot of movies in the Hunter household, so comics and movies, it was a match made in heaven.
How about you, Matt? Why did you like this topic?
It just seems to go hand in hand. Well, listen, I didn't grow up reading, okay? I watched television before I could even read, okay? I remember I couldn't wait for my older brother. My brother is 3 years older than me. I couldn't wait for him to get home from school because I knew that Spider-Man came on TV right around the time that he got home, okay? He went to a school that was catty corner across the block from where my house was. And by the time he got home, it was already 3 o'clock. And I could turn on TV and the old 1967 Spider-Man would come on. And so movies, TV absolutely got me loving comic book heroes. So, well, guys, we're going to have a pretty long show tonight. I'm going to say hi to members of the chat. Now, we've already got a chance to say hi to a handful of them, but I got some more. Here's Tina. She's saying Trev has some powers. Now, here's the guy who's on a lot of videos of ours, Murdoch86. Steve White, who is what? Uh-oh, why is that not showing up? There we go. Steve White, one of our friends from our neighbors to the north, Canada, great human being. 2T needs a spring for better internet connection. You know, without a doubt, tell Verizon, okay, they need to do something around my house. But actually, am I pretty choppy today, guys? Somebody in the chat, let me know. But here's Gary and Tina. I'm sorry, Tina. I'm the bigger Conan fan. Gary's a pretty good one, but I still have him beat, okay? Who else is here? Is this Trev? Yep, this is Trev. Gary. Ooh, free energy right here.
Oh, nice.
Cheers, Matt. Cheers to Matt Woods. All right, good guy. Pretty Fly is in the house. And, you know, Pretty Fly is such an awesome friend. Good guy. Good friend of the channel. But there's a lot of great people in here. And if we missed any, I absolutely apologize. I did see Randy Snake in there. Bulldog is in here. But you had Saturday morning cartoons, Bulldog. You know, Super Friends was another favorite show of mine. Hercules, Space Ghost, some good ones. But anyhow, what we're going to try to do, okay, guys, and please hang with me a little bit while I pull up some videos that we can play here. And we're going to go with Steve first. And he's going to talk about Blade and how it influenced him. But let's see how this video pops up. It's going to take it a couple seconds. It might be.
Oh no! We lost Matt. the chat's popping.
All right. Well, we should talk. I'm going to talk until something pops up on the screen.
That's a good idea.
Okay. All right, Blade. It's just one of my guilty pleasures. Like, it's so fun. Oh, here we go. No, we're both black. What's going on?
Bye.
All right. We don't know what's happening.
Oh, no.
I think the DC Watch crowd has something to do with this. I think they're jamming our signal. There we go.
Oh, there we go.
Awesome. So we're going to keep trying the videos. I'm not sure how they're going to work, but hey, it was kind of cool. So sorry, Steve, go ahead and tell us about Blade.
Well, I had to add, it's just a guilty pleasure. They're so fun. It reminds me of the era when The Matrix came out before all the big MCU movies. And you can just turn your brain off. It's really simple. It's like John Wick. The plot is somebody killed this guy's dog. Let's make 3 movies out of this, right? So Blade is just, the acting's so bad, it's good. It's just easy, fun, and I've seen them multiple times. Now, I'll tell you, Blade Trinity is basically Ryan Reynolds practicing Deadpool before Deadpool was even a movie. So, I mean, you kind of can't go wrong, cool cars, cool fighting. I love it. What do you think?
You were telling me about the Blade Trinity and Ryan Reynolds tryout for Deadpool. I didn't watch the whole movie this afternoon after you said that, but I pulled it up on my iPad while I was doing other things. Oh my gosh, you were so right. Ryan Reynolds is doing Deadpool right then and there in that movie. Do you think he had an idea that someday he'd be doing Deadpool, or is his acting is Ryan Reynolds what we think that Deadpool acts like now? I don't know that, because I always had a vision in my head of what Deadpool was sounding like whenever he was in the comic books. But I don't know. Like, maybe Ryan Reynolds inspired so many people, and we just don't even know it.
I don't know. It's a fun movie. I mean, they're so fun to watch. What do you think?
I was inspired by Ryan Reynolds and Blade Trinity.
His abs, or
yes.
What do you? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Jessica Alba doesn't hurt the eyeballs.
Here's a legit.
I thought it was hilarious, dude. So, yeah.
Here's a legitimate question: Are the actors more important than the comic book characters for the development of the character on screen? I don't know that answer. I really don't.
Yeah, I think you need a good actor to deliver a performance. Think of all the bad performances. Like, I guess everyone always ribs on Daredevil, right? I mean, and he maybe a great actor could have really knocked that one out of the park.
The Ben Affleck one, yeah.
Well, first off, I actually enjoyed the Daredevil movie.
Throwing you under the bus.
You're not throwing me under the bus. I know it's not a popular movie, but I liked it.
It was campy, though, without a doubt.
But sometimes I think that's
if you
okay.
could get past the campiness, it was a decent movie.
Yeah.
But
all right,
Mark Andrews decided to show up a little late. Hey,
all
Mark,
right,
it's better late than never. But
all right, madam.
Yes.
Do you want to announce what your number 3 pick is?
It's Flash Gordon.
Okay. Now, when Matt's scrolling like that, I don't know if he can hear us or he knows what's happening. So
I don't know if anyone can hear
I don't
us,
know what's going on, but
you can give us a signal. Someone type in Flash if you can hear us.
I think
no,
we're here.
I'm Flash Gordon was amazing. Came out in 1980. I was, such a young kid when I actually saw it, and it was just a real fun ride. And I remember, Bass, you can hear me. And I remember the scene specifically where Flash had to put his hand inside the log, and there was who knows what was in the log, but he had to stick his hand in there, and it was all scary. And yeah,
Was that Flash?
I don't know if Flash
Doom?
had to do it. Someone else had to stick their hand in like this scary log, or where you did not know what was living inside of that.
That
thing.
was Dune, I think.
No, it wasn't. That was Flash Gordon. Honey.
Somebody help me.
Flash Gordon was first then.
Did Flash have to stick his hand in a log, according to Stephanie? Because I don't remember that part.
Yes, he did.
Okay.
Come on.
Now listen, a lot of the comic book movies, there's amazing soundtracks that are affiliated with the movie, and I think it really helps cross the comic book fantasy genre when they, select renowned artist, or the soundtrack is really great. And then, of course, in the case of Flash Gordon, Queen, I mean, come on.
The soundtrack for
They did the whole soundtrack
amazing.
for the whole entire movie, if I'm not mistaken.
Are you sure? That's crazy.
Phil Tastic is here, and Phil knows music and movies. So Phil.
Yes, he did. It says Gary B.
Okay, yeah. So there you go. I mean,
Gary B says it. And
that's going to parlay into my number 2 and number 1 movies. So if that gives you a clue about really strong soundtracks. Okay. Since Matt is taking a timeout, why don't
Hey, he's alive!
Also Highlander. That is great, man. Great movie. And that Highlander series that came out in the 90s, man, I loved watching that. Just throwing that out there, a little nugget.
Do that out.
Hey, Matt, you're back.
I'm back. Did I go away?
Hey, if you need
Did
a
you
break,
guys ever see the clip of Flash Gordon in that play? Did you guys ever see the video of Flash Gordon?
No.
Did it show up?
It was scrolling.
No. All right.
A for effort.
I thought it was. It played on my end. I'll try it one more time.
Crawl. Yeah, someone's pretty bison. Crawl. Yeah. That's good.
Crawls.
All right. Is it up now?
Yeah, you get stuck.
The blasters. Can you see the video?
Yeah.
It's choppy, Matt. We should probably skip the videos.
I understand what scene that was, though. They were on a big
All right.
tilting.
We're going to be done with those.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, Matt.
But
We are.
that's a bummer. Yeah, my internet's just messing. But all right.
Yeah.
Am I back on now?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, without doing
Sorry.
any video, and this really bothers me, but my number one, or forgive me, the first movie that I'm going to talk about that absolutely caught my attention. It's not just caught my attention. I think it was important for the entire comic book genre, because let's be honest, if these things weren't on TV, would they be as popular as they are now? Well, Superman 2, which came out in 1982, which was the sequel to Spider-Man 1, is such a great movie. Richard Donner did a great job with Superman 1. It was, the CGI wasn't there, but it was just done in such a serious way. They finally took a superhero and made him a serious being. It wasn't campy Batman from the 1960s, which honestly, I like that movie. But, you know, the Adam West Batman, it was a kid's show, okay? They just, the pow, zoom, wow. You know, it just, I wish it would have made him serious. Well, Richard Donner made Superman a serious person. But while we all liked Superman himself, it's because he was a human. When he was Clark Kent, he was bumbling and stumbling, but they didn't make a mockery of him. He was just a normal person that wasn't, the jock on the football team. He wasn't, the smartest person in the room. He wasn't an unrealistic scientist. He was just a not very good reporter for a newspaper in New York City. So whenever he became Superman, you had that human side, but all of a sudden there was a change. The music, the soundtrack was different. And whenever he was Superman, he was extremely serious, and it made for a great show. And my favorite part of Superman 2 was the redemption scene. Early in the movie, he got beat up in a little cafe diner in New York City by some guy that was hitting on Lois Lane. He wanted to sit right next to her. Well, that was whenever he lost his powers. Well, he goes back into that same cafe at the end of the movie, and he had some words with him, and he beat the guy up, but he didn't hurt the guy like Superman could have hurt him. And he was polite, gentle, nice could be, but it added a little bit of fun element to a very serious movie, because if you remember General Zod and his henchmen and lady, it was a pretty serious movie, but they did a good job with adding a little bit of humor to a serious movie. So I'm throwing Superman 2 as a super important movie in comic book history.
That would have made my list. So, it's one of my favorite. That movie, the way that it presents, like a lot of the movies, you don't even know. Seriously, a lot of the movies where they're going to have, the plot, it takes a long time to get to the main line of the plot. But Superman 2, right out of the gate, the bad guys are put in, they get their sentence and they're put in the glass and they're sent off into space. I mean, it sets the tone, and that movie never stops. It's fantastic.
They're sent off to this phantom zone.
Phantom zone. I'm not the expert, and I'm not sure you are either.
Okay, thanks for that. Yes.
But yeah, great pick, Matt. Wonderful pick. Yep.
Good choices, guys. A couple more, comments in the in the chat. A lot of people seem to like the Christopher Reeve movie. Randy Resnake right here, and Brandon Keefe. He really did do an amazing job. And Pretty Fly, he's seen 2 more than 1, but both incredible movies. And honestly, guys, you did have the Adam West movie. You had Aquaman from the 1960s. A lot of people forgot they ever made that movie, but those were campy. So Superman was just a new superhero, and then they went back and made him a little bit campy in the 90s. I think The Crow and Blade, which are movies you're going to talk about. But Stephanie, what's your number 2 movie?
My number 2 on my list is The Dark Knight with Heath Ledger, Christian Bale, Aaron Eckhart. Christopher Nolan directed it. It's amazing. Heath Ledger does his, performance of his life, I think. And I think it's just like in the first scene, you have all the clowns who are robbing the bank, and they're each offing each other one at a time, saying, "Oh, I'm supposed to off you. I get a bigger cut of the prize here," And then you find out the last guy is really Heath Ledger. I think it was just brilliant. I thought, yeah. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, again, the Superman 2 and Stephanie's pick could have made my list. So one of the best Batman movies, for sure. Amazing. Yeah. Matt?
Oh, those Christopher Nolan Dark Knight trilogy movies are some of the greatest movies I feel ever. Heath Ledger, I remember Heath Ledger from 10 Ways to Hate You or whatever. There was a teen movies is what he was in before that. And they were really good movies. Okay. He was a good actor, but he took over that Joker role and he made that thing something special. And I'm a big Jack Nicholson fan. Okay. He made that so much better than what the Tim Burton Joker was back in the 1989 movie. It was an epic movie. I can't say enough about that. And guys, there's some people in the chat. Pretty Flies, 10 things I hate about you. Thank you, Pretty Fly. The words were just eluding me. But that was, you remember Keith Ledger from that 1999 movie. Great movie, but he became a serious actor with Joker and Dark Knight. But people in the chat, pretty things like Pretty Fly for a Filipino guy. He thinks I don't like DCEU movies, okay? He thinks I have a problem with them. Now, we've gone back and forth, and I don't think he understands. I am pleading with whoever the people that I can plead with in the mystic arts to make good DC movies. I want there to be a good DC cinematic universe that goes along with the Marvel cinematic universe because there's such great characters. They've had so many great stories over the years. And there's something about, we talked about the Superman and the Dark Knight, trilogy. Those are just absolutely amazing movies. If you've never read a comic book, if you've never heard of these characters, you watch those series, you will fall in love with those characters. So there's something to be said about the Dark Knight. So excellent choice. Amazing, in fact.
Don't act so surprised.
Now we're sure that Pretty Fly wasn't just saying he was about
I can't believe you chose a good movie.
Pretty Fly wasn't about to say the 10 things that he hates about us, right? He was saying the name of a movie. Is that where we're at? He wasn't just about to rattle those things off.
Oh no, I think he hates me. So it's all good.
All right, is it my turn, Matt?
It is.
All right, my number 2 movie is The Crow, which you spilled the beans earlier. It's just everything about that movie, right? I was talking about the soundtrack. The soundtrack of the original Crow movie is the best movie soundtrack. It's my favorite. You've got Brandon Lee tragically being shot on set. And I don't even know if that happened nowadays. Would that movie see the light of day? I'm not sure about that. The origin story of The Crow is so traumatic that it shocks you into you. It's so real, right? Like you go to a comic book movie and you start I'm going to check reality in at the door. But that starts with a very traumatic real world event and then crosses over into make-believe land, right? And it's so dark. It mirrors the comics, James O'Barr's books so well that it's just a great movie. I've seen it so many times. And yeah. Madam?
Yeah, I love The Crow. We have a great original art by Dave Bratton back here. He did for you of The Crow. I like it because, like you said, the origin story is all about grief, and about being grief-stricken. Everyone can relate with that, in life. And I remember, I think the little girl says in it, it can't rain all the time, because it's raining constantly in the movie. And it's that little shining hope was nice, a nice little touch in the dark, dark movie. So.
Yeah. Matt, what do you think?
I saw The Crow a couple times back in the day, and this was before I knew anything about comic books, okay? I had no clue it was a comic book. It was just a good, fun movie. It did have a good soundtrack, but Steve, I can tell you're a grunge guy. And I was never really a grunge guy, but I will say this about the grunge movement, all right? I was always the cat who was wearing flannel shirts over top my t-shirt, and I usually had a pair of jean shorts. So whenever that, and I had long hair back in the day. So whenever the grunge movement came out, I went from being like the dorky kid all of a sudden the cool kid. So all the other kids were trying to dress like me, where 2 years earlier they're all wearing MC Hammer pants and like having fade haircuts and stuff. So I was rocking it come the grunge movement days.
That's awesome. It's definitely,
I've seen a movie once, maybe twice, but it's probably been 30 years.
T-Bird.
That guy's name was T-Bird.
It definitely has a goth vibe to, you mentioned grunge, The Crow has a gothic sort of feel to it. Go ahead, Matt.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does. It was cool. Definitely a 1990s movie, okay? I don't know if that movie could come out now, but anyhow, my number 2 movie, okay? Now, I went from Superman, which, a lot of people know I like Marvel, okay? But I do like DC. But I'm going to get into some of the easy picking movies, once people would guess me to choose. But I'm going to go with 2000's X-Men, okay? Or X-Men, forgive me, not X-Men. It was Blade came out a few years earlier, but I told you I wasn't always a comic book collector. Blade's one of those movies that I didn't know was a comic book until a little bit after. I came into comic books I was almost 30 years old, and I was born in the late 70s, so that didn't, I wasn't ready for comic book movies then. But the X-Men, I absolutely always knew that was a comic book because of the Saturday morning cartoon with the awesome soundtrack and all that good stuff. But whenever that came out, that preceded some of the other movies. But, you're seeing Hugh Jackman playing Wolverine, and, he's doing his 3 blades coming out, and he's fighting Sabretooth. And you're like, holy smoke, this is like Saturday morning cartoons, but live. And it was just such an awesome movie. The CGI was on point. There was no point where you're like, oh, that looks fake, because that was a big turnoff on a lot of movies, up to that point. I think Jurassic Park was the first movie that used CGI in a way that blended it in with real life in a way that didn't make you question everything. So I think that's one of the reasons. The technology caught up to people's imagination by the year 2000 to where they could present an image and make it be what people had envisioned in their head for years and years. So that's my number 2 pick.
Yeah, that's a great pick.
It looks like the Giants are doing something good. Doug Bradley talking about the Giants.
Oh boy.
The Giants won.
Okay. All right. Well, we can't go out to dinner tomorrow night. The Giants won. No, it's an inside joke. That's a great choice, Matt. And I have to say, in general, this was super hard. And I'm not hard on movies, so that's an amazing movie. That's a great choice. Now, when we were talking about doing this, I did a little research, and some of these I knew, but I want to rattle off some movies that are based on comic books that you might not know that's the case, like History of Violence, Road to Perdition, Men in Black. I mean, that one's a little bit less obscure. And it's just funny. I always perk up when I see a movie and I find out it's based on a comic book, and I'm in the community and I had no idea. So anyway, just wanted to throw that out there.
Yeah.
All right. So who wants to go with their number 1 most important movie?
Ladies
Is
first.
that me?
I'll let you guys pick it.
All right, now I have to say, I think Mark Andrews had said in the chat that Sin City was one of his favorite, and I completely forgot about Sin City. So you got me there. Sin City would definitely have been in my top 3. It would have been shuffled in there somewhere. But before I thought about Sin City, my very favorite is Joker with Joaquin Phoenix. It's so dark, it's so gritty and real and raw. I think Jack Nicholson took the Joker, had fun with it. Heath Ledger took the Joker, went psycho with it, and like took it to a real dark, dark place. And then Joaquin Phoenix just knocked it out of the park. You know, he just stood on Heath's shoulders and just went up the chain. So that's my pick.
Yeah. It's definitely, they're both definitely psycho performances and amazing. I couldn't agree more with Madam. The Joker, what the Joker did for me, it took me back to Clockwork Orange. It took me back to the 70s where you have there's no special effects. So they have to rely on amazing acting. You have to believe that this person has, these mental problems, and the acting and the plot has to be on point. And that's what the Joker did. It's Taxi Driver. Yeah. It just relies on the power, and it delivers on the psychological impact of fear. And I loved it. Couldn't agree with Madam more. Would have made my list for sure. What do you think, Matt?
Well, for an actor to truly play a good Joker, I feel like they have to become a little bit insane. Okay. Now, I don't know that is necessarily a clinical term, and I don't have the degrees in order to, diagnose somebody. But whenever there's a scene, and he's walking down a hallway, he gets into an elevator, then all of a sudden he is dancing down these stairs. He's a nut job. That actor truly was in that role of a madman who he cracked. Okay, which is basically what the Joker is. He's somebody a very intelligent criminal that just snapped, and he went to the dark side, and the guy did a great job doing it, and you completely believe that he's the Joker. Okay, now let's talk about Heath Ledger. Now I still like Heath Ledger a little bit better, but man, that Phoenix guy, he just did a great job with it. So again, I'm shocked that you picked that movie, Stephanie. Now I'm playing, but what a great pick for a movie there.
Thanks.
Matt, on the DVD of the Joker, there's extra scenes where Joaquin Phoenix, when he comes out on whatever the Tonight Show set is, he comes through the curtain. He just is doing that opening different ways, like 8 to 10 times, impromptu, and it's fascinating. He's in character. It's really cool. Just a little nugget. I know no one has DVDs anymore, but
it's just an amazing all-around movie.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right, we're ready for my number one.
I have a whole drawer full of DVDs that I need to sell on eBay. I need to sell those on eBay before they go away. Well, I can still make money off of them.
I don't even know. This is for
what are you pulling out there, Steve?
I just grabbed this, and I'm trying to figure out if it is. I hope it's related to my movie. Tim Burton's Batman is my number one movie. So, again,
that is such a good movie.
It is so good. I mean, the opening sequence, flying around the bat symbol, it had me right then. I was, however old I was, I have to do the math. I was 14. It got me into comic books. It was a comic book on the screen, right? Tim Burton, he went that direction with it. And I went there with him. You have Prince doing the soundtrack. Now, I'm not saying that's the best soundtrack of all time, but Prince is amazing. It just fit the moment in time.
Agreed.
And you can watch it now. I thoroughly enjoy it, and it has to be my number one. So
Can I comment real quick? I noticed a lot of people in the chat are commenting on Darkman, which I also love. Liam Neeson, I mean, you gotta love the man.
yeah, he has the man has a particular set of skills, and he's he's good. He's good. Okay. Any comments on Batman?
Very
It was good.
Okay. All right. Matt, what do you think about Tim Burton's Batman?
It came out, I think I was 13 years old, maybe almost 14. I don't know. But it was another one of those movies that came out at the right time. It did not age as well for me as whenever it first came out. When it first came out, an amazing movie. And I'm a giant Prince fan. It's such a great artist. So I was digging the soundtrack. Jack Nicholson was just great at the Joker. Michael Keaton blew me away. And I think I mentioned this on live or on a video before about, this is the same guy that was doing Gung Ho and Mr. Mom, okay, who was a comedian. I'm like, how's Michael Keaton ever going to play Batman? Like, no one's ever going to take him serious. And the movie opens up with him attacking these, thugs in a dark alleyway. The one guy's getting ready to run away, and he pulls out his batarang and flings it around his ankles and pulls him up and holds him over the end of a building. And who are you? I'm Batman. And I'm like, I sold as soon as Michael Keaton said, I'm Batman. And so, like, a great movie, a great time, 1989. Again, you had the Superman movies that made superheroes serious and not children, not childish. Because I think one of the reasons that many people scoff at comic book reading is they think that it's for kids. Because if you watch that Adam West Batman and all those other movies, they really were kiddified, okay? They were kind of goofy, corny. And so everyone assumed that that's what all comic books were. Well, Superman came out, Tim Burton's Batman came out, and they took the characters serious. And, those are the characters that we've always read, and that's why we continue to read them well past our childhood, because, heck, they're just good stories. But so, 89 Batman, it was another amazing movie. I talk a lot, too. I found that out. People in the chat tell me I speak too much.
You don't.
You slap that camera around, though.
You need to slap your internet around.
All right. What's your number one, Matt? We're all waiting.
I got the command hand there.
What's your number one?
All right. My number one, okay? You know what's kind of funny about this? None of us, you guys nor me, none of us have, there it is. I'm trying to adjust the screen here. But not one of the three of us have even mentioned an MCU movie, okay? Now, I talk about Superman 2, love Superman 2. At the time, I loved Superman 2. Loved it for years. And it's still one of my favorite superhero movies. But is it better than Endgame? I don't know. But we have not spoken about one MCU movie, and I'm not going to, okay? Because people, by the time the MCU came out in 2008, the market was ready for comic book movies. They'd done enough comic book movies, and they made the characters serious that there was a market for an audience to go to movie theaters to watch it, and people didn't scoff at them as they had in years past. But the 2000 X-Men movie, that was a big one. But the movie that truly kicked off the comic book hysteria in the movie theaters was Spider-Man, the Tobey Maguire one from 2002. At that time, that was the largest opening weekend of any movie in history. And it brought in over $400 million back in 2002, and I don't know what that is for inflation, adjusted for inflation, but movies didn't cost as much back then, and the tickets now are higher than they would be, if you just added inflation. So they're getting a lot more revenue than they used to get. But that Tobey Maguire, where again, a lot of it has to do with CGI, where they took our imagination and were able to present something on a video screen that mirrored what we had thought about for years. Whenever he was fighting the Green Goblin on top of that glider, and whenever the Green Goblin first appeared and threw bombs inside the building and Mary Jane almost fell a full story or two down, you're like, whoa, this is really cool. And they got a really good story in there where they took Mary Jane, but they threw in the death of Gwen Stacy, which is such a great story in comic book history. And we all loved it. Now, they did flip it around, and Mary Jane, who isn't Gwen Stacy, they put Mary Jane in Gwen Stacy's space, or her spot, whatever. They didn't kill her. So that threw us for a loop. We're like, yeah, like it was always that story of what we always wanted to see. So my number one, most influential, most important comic book movie of all time, Spider-Man with Tobey Maguire.
Man, nice. I gotta respect Tobey Maguire. I remember him taking off his shirt. He's got these ripped abs for Spider-Man. And he had this interview. And they're like, Tobey, what's your secret, for this great body? And Toby's like, it's two things. I'm like, what is it, Tobey? And it's like, it's diet and exercise. It's so funny. No.
Madam in the abs. I didn't know we were doing top 3 abs. What are you doing?
Yes, I am seeing a thing here. I remember one of you guys' video. I think, Madam, I think you like Captain America's back end. But now we're finding out you're a big fan of the abs, too, okay? So Captain America's back end and Tobey Maguire's abs, okay? We're figuring this out.
Aquaman's what on Aquaman?
Oh, take Aquaman's face. That could be okay.
Oh, gosh, here we go. Well, Matt, I think it's great that you're,
Just make a hodgepodge of it.
I feel like that weird science movie. Like I'm just putting,
We're
I love weird science.
I think the 2 points were putting the movies in the time that they came out, that perspective. Like the market wasn't flooded with comic book content. With these movies that we've picked, the Joker would be and the Batman, and also I thought it was interesting too that we didn't have MCU movies on the list because we're all big MCU fans. So let's not beat DC up so much because there was, we had DC on the list here, and I think they've been doing the Joker really, to me, they got a lot of street cred for even trying to put that movie out like that. There's a whole bunch of people in the comments section who said they won't even, they won't watch it, Can
I say, Matt, real quick? I had a couple honorable mentions.
I'm looking at this.
I didn't hear.
Okay.
Give him some time. Go ahead.
All right. I really want to mention, I was going to say, I really wish I could talk about The Walking Dead, which I can't, but that was the one thing I watched. And I was like, there's really a comic book about this. And I looked at it because Steven had it. And I was like, this is interesting. This is cool. And another one that I really liked. Sorry.
No, we're
You're preaching.
No, we got squeezed. Matt squeezed us.
All right. Go ahead.
Okay,
I'm
good.
done. I'm done.
Whatever. What's the other honorable mention?
No, I got it.
I'm sorry.
Conan. I almost picked Conan instead of Flash Gordon. I think Arnold Schwarzenegger was just in his prime. I mean, him pushing that big wheel was amazing. And the abs.
What about Rick Grimes' abs? What about that? You got any other honorable mentions? All right. Well, yeah, I'm going to have to get on the sit-up machine after this
looking at her list. But I'm looking at our list, and we have 1, 2, 3. We have 4 DC movies. Okay, we have 1, 3 Marvel movies, and then we have 2 independent movies with The Crow and Flash Gordon. So, we absolutely gave DC a lot of love in this. And you are so right. Conan is such a great comic book movie that you cannot take it away. But that, to me, I don't even consider that a comic book movie because, I don't know. There's definitely Conan comic books, okay? But there were Conan stories going back into the 1930s that weren't in comic books. So he's a literary character that got put into comic books. But I don't know. I think comic books are what made it so popular to make them want to make that movie. And Arnold just blew it up. So I don't know if I would ever heard about Conan if it wasn't for the comics inspiring the movie. So yeah, that's another good one. But are there I'm surprised Gary B hasn't talked about Conan in the chat here.
What someone said.
And then, of course,
Doug.
we were real careful, or I think we tried to. If someone scrutinizes a list, the comic book came out like before the movie did, because Star Wars sort of comes to mind, but the movie came out first, before the comic book. Star Wars obviously is an amazing movie, and crossed into comic book land, so.
Yes. Somebody mentioned Predator. Predator was a movie before it was a comic book. But it is a comic book, so it could be a comic book movie, but the movie inspired the book.
I love that movie.
Gary did
Arnold
respond.
and
Let's see what he says.
Okay. Do you want to say anything about the Predator?
Gary thinks it's a literary movie.
I was going to say something just like that. Like it's a historical reference for Matt.
All right. Well, this was Matt. Did you?
I think our internet is goofing up here a little bit, and but I just thought this was such a great topic for a show. I loved hearing what you guys' thoughts. I loved hearing the chat, but there's so many people like Richard Veith didn't even know that Conan was a comic book until he met Matt Woods. Thanks, Richard. But no, Conan was a big comic book, for years and years. It's kind of died down in popularity. So, do you have anything going on your channel here in the next week or so?
Well, in the next 15 minutes, I've got to do 50 sit-ups, apparently. But yeah, we're going to be on Gary B's channel. We're going to be in the hot seat.
The 19th. I
on
think he's
the
going
19th.
to be there too. So.
Well, I don't know. We'll see if Matt Woods is going to be there or not. But that's what we're up to. And then we did Brandon Keefe, Tech Geek 200 is in he was in here earlier.
Yeah.
We sent books in together to CBCS to get signature verification, just like Gary B, a year ago. And I have the box. So Brandon's going to come over here and we're going to do a show and do an unboxing. And my caliber #1 is in there. And that is the first appearance of the Crow. And it's signed by James O'Barr, or at least I think it is. We're going to see what that label says. I have not peeked. So I'm excited for that as well.
Pretty Fly said, this was a great show. Don't tell Joe. I think that's hilarious. I think we should all definitely say something to Joe now. Make him feel good.
What do you got going on, Matt?
For Joe Anachronic Comics, but I actually have still got to film a video of a room tour, but I got to talk about it. It's a busy time of year for me. The reason I'm not going to be on the show on the 19th is I have work that night. And so I heard on one of your videos that I've been unreliable lately. So it's not that I'm not unreliable. It's just I have a lot of commitments at this time of the year. So thanks for saying I'm unreliable now. I appreciate that. Yeah, I'm looking at him right over there. Okay. But so yeah, if I pop a video out this week, it'll be a good thing. But I definitely have a few in the works.
Awesome.
But
All
I think
right.
it's time to wrap this show up. And anyhow, I just want to thank everybody for showing up. What a wonderful conversation. Some great movies were talked about. Great history, in fact, about pop culture. So everybody, you guys have a great night, and we're going to be signing off. Say bye.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.